One man, one mission, to rid the world of chronic anxiety once and for all. The Anxiety Guy, Dennis Simsek, shares his personal transformation from living a life filled with overwhelming worry to becoming a full-fledged positivity machine. A leading authority in generalized anxiety, Dennis gets to the truth of your mental health challenges and sets you on a path to transforming each and every area of your life. Here he is, the one and only, the Anxiety Guy.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Anxiety Guy podcast, episode number 31. I will be your host, Dennis Simsek. Make sure to rate and review this podcast if it's inspiring you, if it's giving you the solutions to the anxiety problems that you have in your life. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe so that you can get all the updates on all the videos that come out on a weekly basis. And all the podcast episodes will be out Monday morning, so look out for those. If you're not on Facebook already, head over to the Anxiety Guy Facebook page. Make sure you like that page because that is where all the inspirational posts, all the solutions, all the tactics, strategies, everything will be through there. With that said, let's get on to episode number 31. And I was doing a little one-on-one with someone through Skype, which I do as a life coach. And James came up to me and James said, you know, Dennis, I've been dealing with health anxiety for way too many years. And as he started to explain his story, as he started to go more in depth with the reasons why he thought he was suffering, you know, what was going on in his life, how it was affecting his relationships, how it was affecting his leisure time, it basically sounded like James didn't have any relief from the symptoms. And he basically has a lot of knowledge. That's the funny part, is he had a lot of knowledge and education as far as how the body works, how the brain works, you know, or fight or flight responses, how the amygdala is connected to all this. And he was very educated. But the link just wasn't there. He wasn't able to link up a certain solution to his health anxiety. So there I was trying to help him out there and giving him some solutions. And what we did was we started to look at what Mr. Anthony Robbins was saying. And if you know myself, I'm a big follower of certain mentors, certain inspirational characters out there that have helped people and are passionate about helping people. And Anthony Robbins does it in different ways. He does it through his, helps people with business, helps them reach their personal goals. He deals with a wide range of things, whereas I like to deal with more like health anxiety solutions. But Anthony Robbins talks about the 6 basic needs that all humans have. And those 6 basic human needs are certainty, which is one, and the need for security, comfort, consistency. And number 2, uncertainty, so variety in your life, and the challenges, so constantly being challenged in your life, which is number 2. Number 3, which is significance and the need to feel important, needed, wanted, and worthy of love. Number 4, contribution and giving beyond ourselves. And he talks about that in depth in some of his TED Talks that he's done, and you can view those on YouTube. Number 5, love and connection. So connected with and loved by other humans. And number 6, basic human needs that we all have to have in our lives and what drives us to do what we do is growth and constant development, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. So certainty, uncertainty, significance, contribution, love and connection, and growth. And as I was sitting there, I was going, how can I make a difference? And I like to do a little motivational speech to myself before I work with anybody one-on-one through Skype. And it came to me right away that I needed to go in depth to what Anthony Robbins said and how he talked about the 6 basic human needs. Now, how do 2 of those connect with someone suffering from health anxiety? I thought to myself. And I came up with the conclusion, and Anthony Robbins says this actually. He goes, we're all driven by 2 out of the 6 basic human needs, and that's what creates our reality, our physical world, and how we deal with certain things in our life. So out of those 6, all of us are driven by 2, the most powerful 2. And I connected the 2, which were certainty and significance, to someone suffering from health anxiety. So before I talked to James about this, I gave it some thought, and what I came out with was when I was suffering from health anxiety and hypochondria and agoraphobia for years, I realized that a lot of my anxiety was connected to the one thing that was driving me, which was certainty. And I was certain that because I had health anxiety, because I was living a daily life of, kind of just in my comfort zone and nothing really getting too bad or too good, I thought that consistency was what I was looking for. And I never wanted to step outside that comfort zone because I was afraid of what might happen. What sort of things would happen to me? How would it make my life more difficult? What kind of pain would I feel if I stepped out of my comfort zone? So the one thing that was driving me during my health anxiety days was the need for certainty. I saw the consistency. Every day I was okay with that. I was living in fear, but I was okay with that. It was consistent. And that's one of the things that drive us. I felt like I was secure. There were no surprises. Right? And I knew that I could have a panic attack, or I could, deal with some kind of fear on that day, or something might happen, but it never got to the point where it killed me, And what health anxiety sufferers suffer from the most is the thought of the fear of death. Okay? So the fear of death was huge, and I thought, I have the certainty here. I don't want to step outside because my fear of death is too big, and that just might happen. So I lived my life with the basic human need of certainty. Now, the second one was the need for significance, the need to feel important, needed, wanted, and worthy of love. Now, let's think about this for a second. There's James, and he's suffering from health anxiety for the last couple years. Now, is he significant? Does he feel significant in some way because he has health anxiety? Yes. Now, is that something that he's really aware of, or is it a little bit more subconscious? Subconscious. Now, I'm going to go back to my own personal story and the importance of connecting the human need of significance to health anxiety. Now, I felt significant because I was getting attention from people. The more I talked as a victim, the more I talked about my health anxiety, the more I felt loved by Robbin, who was there for me, my fiance, and I felt love from her. I felt comforted. I felt, like I was a somebody. I felt important to her, and I felt important to my mother. I felt important to friends, the close friends that I talked to. So why would I want to give that up? Subconsciously, I thought to myself every single day, this is good. And if I don't have health anxiety, then I basically lose what I think is my identity. So, and that's what a lot of people out there tend to suffer from. They haven't made that connection yet between what are the subconscious things that are driving me and why is my health anxiety staying alive for so long? And the needs that I realize that health anxiety sufferers have, and the two things that drive them is the need for certainty. They're certain that things aren't going to get too bad. And the need for significance. They feel significant around their friends, their family members, and such. And when we have that kind of love and connection, the fifth human need, which is love and connection, we can have it, and Anthony Robbins talks about it, we can do all these things in either a positive or a neutral or a negative way. Unfortunately, health anxiety sufferers do it in a negative way. We feel that love and connection with people because we feel like they care about us. And if we don't have a health anxiety, if we don't have this identity that we think we are, then we feel like they're going to walk away. They're just going to not be interested in us anymore. And when I made this connection with James, he was blown away. here's someone that's been suffering for years from health anxiety. And he had those two drives. And what he did that was huge, and we worked on this with him, was he started to find certainty and significance in other ways than through his health anxiety. So all of a sudden, he became disinterested in some of the symptoms. He became disinterested in some of the feelings, the thoughts, the beliefs that led to his emotions. And he started to hold up a white flag and he went, you know what? I'm not interested in this anymore. And I talk about turning a monster into a fly that's just basically buzzing around, trying to get your attention, which is those symptoms. And he started to try to get his certainty, his need for security, his need for comfort and consistency from some other place. So what he did was he turned it into a positive, and he turned his focus from himself, his inner world, to his career. So then he had that certainty that he would shoot for making a certain amount. So he had a goal behind it. And that certainty, that drive, got him thinking about his career more and less about his feelings, less about the symptoms, less about his internal world. Significance. So what he started to do, the need to feel important, needed, wanted, and worthy of love, was he started to actually build other relationships with people. And he started to go out there, and he actually put himself out there, and it was risky for him, and he felt the pressure, he felt the fear, he felt more symptoms, but he wanted to feel significant in a different way. So he built up his relationships with other people, and he did it in a humorous way. So he brought out the humorous side of him. He built relationships with strangers, people that he didn't know. He built his relationships with acquaintances, people that he knew a little bit. And next thing you know, those people saw him as someone significant in another way. Not as a victim. They didn't see him as a victim, but now he was significant. He was important to those people because he brought a humorous side to life. And so, as you can see, the need for certainty, uncertainty, significance, contribution, love and connection, and growth can be met in different types of ways. The message today is, are you a little bit like James? Are you stuck in a health anxiety cycle, a panic attack cycle, because of your need for a couple of these basic needs here? Is your anxiety being driven by one of these basic needs? And the funny thing is we don't even realize it. We don't really look too deep within. What tends to happen with health anxiety and panic disorder and agoraphobia and such is that we tend to live in a world of reaction. When someone tells us something, automatically we look at the worst side of that thing. What the threat is. We're always looking for the threats. If I remember years of just not being able to fall asleep, and thinking that there was a ghost in my house, or someone would open the door and just come in and murder us or something like that, my family. I always thought the worst, always the worst, the threat in everything. I better not fall asleep or else this might happen. I better not go for a drive today or else I might lose control, have a panic attack and lose control of the vehicle. I better not go to work today because I'm afraid of what people are going to think of me. I better not go and start this new business because I'm so scared of the fear of failure, and we're stuck in that cycle. That cycle is never ending. And it wasn't until James recognized some of the patterns. It all really comes down to the patterns. What patterns are you going through? I made an incredible video that touched a lot of people on YouTube, and I want you guys to head to YouTube and watch that video because it goes into in real depth as far as minute by minute, hour by hour, what someone from health anxiety is suffering, how they are suffering. And that video, I've got some emails from people saying, I gave this video to my coworker, my family member, and just by them educating themselves about the video, they were able to help me and give me better feedback during my days of heightened anxiety. So the video is you'll see it on the front part. It's the journey, the health anxiety journey that I created there. And I want you guys to watch that video a couple times and really understand it. But going back to what we're talking about, let's understand that all basic human needs are driven by 2 of the 6. Okay, so the 2 that are the most important to you are driving your physical world. Okay, are driving you to do what you do on a daily basis. So it might be love and connection, it might be growth. Fantastic. How are you doing that? Are you doing that in a positive way or a negative way? It's important to look at it. The quote that you need to understand, guys, today is, and I put this on the Facebook page and people loved it, it's okay not to be okay. It's really important for you to understand, and for me back in my day, which I didn't really understand well, that just because I'm not okay and I want to be a certain way, that pressure of being a certain way fuels much of our anxiety on a daily basis. So it's important to understand that as long as you're doing number 6 in a constructive way, which is growth, constant development emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually, you're going to find that you're progressing, okay? And when you start to progress, that is the key to happiness. Progress equals happiness, okay? And if you're not developing yourself, you're missing out on a huge area. You're missing out on the light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to health anxiety. And what tends to happen, though, is that we constantly develop ourselves, but we don't have the heart to take action as far around what we've been learning about. So it's important to grow yourself. It's important to constantly develop, but it's also important to take baby steps in the direction that you want to go in your life. If you're not challenging yourself, if you're not putting into action number 2, the basic human need, which is uncertainty and variety, and challenging yourself on a daily basis, then life becomes boring. Life becomes completely boring. If you constantly have certainty, it's boring. You know, my life with a health anxiety was so boring. You know, and I look back and go, man, I'm grateful that I spent 6-7 years struggling so that now I can help people through the podcast, through the blog posts, through the Facebook page and such. That's fantastic. But personally, I wish that I put into action some of the things that I'm teaching you guys in this podcast a bit sooner. You know, I wish I didn't wait so long. I wish I wasn't so scared. I wish I would have just stepped out of my comfort zone a bit and challenged myself a bit. Now, are we going to fail sometimes when we challenge ourselves? Yes. Every transformation gets worse before it gets better. That's something you need to understand. And just because you're stepping into cold water, for example, and you take a step back, that doesn't mean that you're not progressing. That's something you need to understand, is that 2 steps forward and 1 step back is still consistency. It still means that you're progressing. It still means that you're constantly developing, okay? And don't think that just because you've tried something and you failed at it, that you're a failure. That's bull crap, right? The idea, the action of just putting yourself out there is something that you should be celebrating in small doses on a daily basis. Simply putting myself out there and, say, being at a restaurant or a bar, for example, and just trying to have a conversation with another person at the bar, and that person not really paying attention to me or whatever, means that I'm still practicing. I'm still developing myself. Great, I got rejected. That's fine. I need to develop, and you need to develop that thick skin, right? And once you have that, it feels like you can challenge yourself every single day. Anything can happen, and you can overcome it. Is the direction that we want to go through this podcast, guys. So I hope this message through Anthony Robbins, who talked about the 6 human needs, helps you guys. Again, it's certainty, uncertainty, significance, contribution, love and connection, and growth. And if we have those 6 things in positive ways, and if we continue to develop ourselves in those 6 ways, we're going to find that our life becomes a life of fulfillment. And next thing you know, we start to really feel proud about what we do. We're proud to share our lives with other people. All right, guys. See you guys in episode number 32, which is going to be next Monday. If you have any questions, I love the comments. I love the stories, guys. I'd love to help you out. Head over to anxietyexit.com, and I'll see you guys really, really soon. Have a wonderful day. Take care.